Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman issue 21, written by Kelly Thompson, with art by Dylan Snook, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Becca Carey. The consequences of Diana's actions are felt this issue as Wonder Woman has been sent back to the Wild Isle by Hades, forced to stay there for an entire month before being able to return to Earth. On top of not being able to return, she finds all of the little critters and monsters she befriended in the Wild Isle have died off, and she decides to bury them, knowing that her mother would lecture her on burying them since it's not their way, but Diana cannot bear the idea of their charred bodies turning into ingredients for supernatural weapons. As she puts a tree on top of the graves, she finds one of the lizard friends actually survived. Glad to see him, but she knows it's no longer safe for him or friends of Diana in the Isle, and he needs to spread the word. What a way to open the issue, just complete despair from a character who has been so hopeful and full of love and compassion up until this point. This is the consequences of the last couple of story arcs finally having, compounded enough that they've been released, and this is the fallout of all of that. The stuff with the Troika, the stuff with Kale, it's all coming to a head here, and I really like it. I really like that this feels like that second act, slump before the hero rises to meet the challenge, and I love what Thompson is doing with it. Diana heads back into what she once called her home, knowing that her mother is missing or dead, but she was alive when she was dragged from the burning home and put up quite a fight. Donning her armor, Diana sets out to locate her mother and who took her, as back on Earth, a special forces team are sent into the forest surrounding the Huron, intending on infiltrating Wonder Woman's lair, but the men begin throwing up the closer they get to it. The commander radios in, confirming reports of some kind of paracological or magical defense in place around the building. On the porch of the Huron, a very relaxed Steve Trevor says hi to the arriving soldiers, knowing that they are having trouble keeping their breakfasts down. As the men retreat, he warns them not to come back unless they have a warrant, and even if that happens, he has his lawyer, Julia Capitelis, on hand to sort everything out. Steve having some actual character outside of being, Wonder Woman's soldier boyfriend or the military guy is just so refreshing. He feels more natural in this universe. And hey, Julia Capitelis is showing up here. That's another neat pull from Wonder Woman's big, long history. She used to be a professor, I believe, an archaeologist who Diana used to meet with occasionally during adventures. So I like that she's being repurposed here as Steve's lawyer, and I imagine Wonder Woman's lawyer as well. I think that's pretty cool. Again, it's kind of giving me building things up towards like a Hall of Justice for this heroine. I still posit the fact that the Hall of Justice will be what the heroine is now. Like, it looks exactly the same. It's very similar. It's kind of got all that stuff building up to it where it's got all this stuff inside of it that helps heroes be superheroes, like the alert system inside of it. And now they have a lawyer. So I can just see this like the startings of like the Justice League or whatever the heroes on this universe will call themselves, since Justice League is taken by the villains. Etta, meanwhile, listens to the news talk about the disappearance of Wonder Woman during her fight with the giant robot. Something people find concerning, since usually they hear from her within a 24-hour period, and they haven't, which means it's odd. Some people are glad that she's gone though, and the news reports a growing number of people are being very vocal about her being gone and how it makes them happy. I'm guessing this is one of Kale's projects, fomenting hatred for Wonder Woman through the media and whatnot while she's gone. It could also be a byproduct of the whole Aphrodite love power she has that was revealed to us in the last issue. Like, her disappearing makes people like long for her. They've become kind of addicted to that love, and there's like a little bit of a jealousy, or like, oh, maybe she's off with someone else or something like that. Like, I feel like that's probably where it's building towards. Like, there's a downside to that love, and we haven't fully explored that yet. Gia comes by, learning Etta has found nothing about the disappearance of Wonder Woman. Etta snaps at Gia, wondering if praying to Hecate have given her any results, revealing Etta doesn't really care for the coven that Gia has put together in service of Diana. Gia knows that Diana appearing in their lives wasn't something they knew was going to develop her magic in the way it did, but Etta knows that it also changed her sister, wishing her to just be careful. See, I knew this cult thing developing in service of Wonder Woman and Hecate is a thing that was going to happen in the back of this series. I like Etta seems to be the only one kind of realizing that this is all not very good, and it seems she's also investigating it. Even we saw Steve was also pulled in by this, since he helped out in the coven when they needed it. So I like that Etta is kind of the only one who realizes, oh no, there's something really wrong with this. Something's not right here, and I'm going going to investigate. It gives her an interesting story that, while tied to Diana's story, since she's investigating that, it isn't in service of Wonder Woman. She doesn't need Diana around to go off on her own adventure, which it seems like she's going to be doing. Gia is more worried about Etta, since apparently she's off to Gotham, hugging her sister and asking her to come back and say hi to Batman for her while she's over there. At Area 41, Barbara is imprisoned alongside the corpse of Cheetah, and as she sits alone, a voice speaks out to her, asking if she's wondering why the body of Cheetah is still there and doesn't smell. Barbara is confused as to who is talking, as the voice reveals that Kale wants her to be the new Cheetah, but they don't understand how it works. It's different for everyone, and what worked and what didn't work for Priscilla Rich will be different for Barbara and Minerva. If she chooses it, that is. Barbara panics and screams for whomever is talking to show themselves, and the voice says that they are Ukataka, an ancient god. So here we go. This is Barbara's origin as Cheetah, and so far it's not what I thought it would be, and that's a pleasant surprise. It looks like while Priscilla Rich was the quote-unquote first Cheetah, the original one, she seems to taken on the traditional villain role as Cheetah, like, looks like the Cheetah of the main universe, and it frees Barbara up to be something completely new, and since this is the Absolute Universe, something probably even more terrifying. Kataga giving her the choice to take its power and be something new is awesome. It reframes the curse. She's now taking it on willingly if she chooses to, and it will no doubt feed the feelings she has about being abandoned by Wonder Woman. Like, the god will whisper into her ear how Diana hates her and left her, and that turns Barbara more on to the villain's side. I'm really interested what Cheetah is going to look like in this universe. Well, what Barbara's Cheetah was going to look like. As I said before, it's probably going to be some insane look because this is the Absolute Universe, but I like that it's not going to be exactly the same as Priscilla's. Priscilla got to be the traditional Cheetah, and now we get something new. Barbara reveals that she knows who the plant god is, and the god expected as much since he knows how smart she is. Barbara also knows that the Cheetah is usually seen as Ustaga's wife, but the god prefers to think of them as his consort, appealing to Barbara's intelligence since he never gets to talk to people like her. He reveals that her pursuit for knowledge coupled with her exposure to magic, science, and the supernatural have left her as the perfect specimen for a partnership, being sure not to say the word possession like Barbara thinks this will be. Ustaga is glad that they can skip the part where the person thinks that they are insane, but Barbara doesn't think complaining about past people the god has used as possession tools is going to convince her to join him. The god piques Barb's interest though by revealing that he hates Kale with every sliver of his consciousness, as the woman realizes it's Priscilla's blood that contains the god at the moment. The god wonders what she's doing as she touches the blood, and Barb knows that she can't just trust the god's answers. She needs to see for herself. She tastes a drop of the blood and immediately is possessed by Ustaga, who shows her a vision of Priscilla Rich from 2 years ago, where she tells a friend that the cheetah is her spirit animal and she thinks that she has all the traits of a cheetah, like being fast. Sometime later, Priscilla, who is very clearly ill now, asks for some raw meat as her father meets with Veronica Kale, demanding that she help his daughter, otherwise he'll make sure her organization is defunded. Kale is more than happy to help out because, of course, this gives her a valuable asset. She takes Priscilla to Area 41, and over the next year she runs tests and experiments on her, not finding out what is actually possessing the girl. Kale comes up with a very sly way to continue the experiments as she tells Priscilla that she believes that whatever is happening to her was actually interrupted, and it's part of the reason why she's in agony. So she wants Priscilla to finish whatever she is becoming, since it will be magnificent and will end her pain. So this is like the evilest thing ever. She's basically pressuring this woman who, from what we've seen at the start there, where she, comparing herself to a cheetah, she isn't exactly smart. That kind of fits in with what I know of Priscilla Rich. I know her as she's usually like an upper class, like socialite, like party girl who gets the curse and everything. And I guess that's what they're going for here. And Kale is basically taking advantage of this woman and just seeing an asset in her and just not a human being and just something that she can control and then put on her suicide squad. And I love it. I love what they're doing here with not just Priscilla, but also Kale, giving her so much more backstory about how she's been doing this for a while and just trying to come up with different assets and stuff that she can use against, I guess, people like when a Wonder Woman shows up or when any other threat shows up as well. Priscilla goes through with her cheetah transformation and Kale ends up putting her in a cage, something she promised she would never do. Back in the present, Barbara meets Priscilla, who tells her not to go through with the deal since it's trading one prison for another, but Barb is smarter than she was and more focused, so maybe she could be a better cheater. Barbara doesn't buy it since there is always a monkey's paw aspect to these old gods, and there's something that Uchtaga is not telling her. Priscilla thinks that maybe Wonder Woman can come and save Barb then as she returns to death, leaving Barbara alone to make her choice. Down in the underworld, Wonder Woman is burying herself in dark thoughts about what's happening on Earth to Barbara. She continues to track down her mother and what took her, figuring that it might have been some type of fantastical beast like a manticore. Her deductions are proven when she is ambushed by a manticore near their house. The manticore attacks her, saying that he hates the witch princess stomping around his feeding grounds. I'm always down for more cool mythical creatures, and the manticore is one I particularly love just because of how weird it is. It's just a weird mismatch of man and creature, and the artist for the issue, Dylan Snook, simplifies the design quite well, where he makes it even stranger, where it's this creature with this man's face, and it just looks so strange to me because it's like just a man's face and like the lion maned beard. It just looks very odd, and I like that. I like a creature that just looks odd to look at. Diana is hit by the manticore's poison barbs, but she fires them back at the creature with her magic, knowing that while it's immune to its own poison, it will still piss it off greatly. She demands the creature hand her mother over, but the manticore becomes angered at Diana making demands. Finding witches are always arrogant, so he decides the best course of action is to further piss off Diana, proclaiming that he might have eaten Cersei, and if he did, it was well deserved. Diana tires of his games, wrapping the Nemesis lasso around him, asking if the manticore wants to do this the easy way or the hard way. The manticore screams as Diana considers killing it, but decides to try and make it submit to her lasso. The manticore actually gets free of it, biting Diana on the arm as it tells her that it hasn't seen her mother at all. Diana begins to feel like she wants the pain from this battle, and in trying to make the manticore submit, hoping that it feels her empty nothingness inside of her. Diana feeling like she is owed this pain because of letting her friends on Earth down is interesting. Her capacity for love and compassion is a great trait, but it also seems to come at a bit of a trade-off where it makes her feel anger when she's failing in that compassion and love. It bubbles up this anger, which we have seen a little bit here and there in previous issues where she reacts in anger and something and doesn't realize why she exactly did that, and why she felt that way, and she's still trying to grapple with these very difficult feelings for her that she has. And now I'm sure once she learns of the whole love ability she got from Aphrodite, that it would make a little bit more sense to her. Thanks to the lasso, she knows that the manticore is speaking the truth, tossing it away and hitting it with a sleep spell, letting it get on with her mission as she plans on targeting Skilla next. Diana begins the long and arduous climb up a cliff, knowing that she could fly Pegasus to it, but Skilla would snatch her out of the sky like she was nothing. Setting up camp as she bides her time until the being above her is asleep, using the opportunity to make a campfire. But in doing so, Diana is left alone with her own thoughts, which begin to wonder about what her friends on Earth are doing, if Barbara is dead, and what has become of her mother. Diana thinks about why the gods chose Cersei to be her mother, believing Cersei could build them a weapon, seeing as a brilliant sorceress prone to revenge might be a good asset for them. But Diana begins finding herself more and more like her mother recently, prone to revenge. Diana calls to Hecate again, asking if she is behind Cersei's abduction, and the god ends up appearing to her, revealing that they are, and it's because they need Diana focused and not breaking their rules. Diana vows to never forgive Hecate for this, and if Barbara Ann and Cersei are to die, it will be the end of them. So I guess the gods are beginning to realize, oh yeah, this little weapon that we wanted to make is kind of turning on us, so maybe it wasn't a good idea to give her to Cersei to begin with. I feel like we're setting up the next couple of arcs too, since Diana is probably going to end up against the gods very soon. It kind of feels like it's heading that way, where she's realized that she is being used in this game by the gods, and she's going to try and break free from that, specifically the god Hecate, who she seems to be coming for in the grand scheme of things. And I wonder if how that's going to play out with the whole cult sort of thing that Gia is getting into, since she's kind of creating it in both Hecate and Diana's name. And are those people going to turn on Diana because she's turning on the god that they also worship? How does that work? Does her power power, does Diana's power end up getting taken away by Hecate? Some interesting ways that Thompson's going to take this story, and I'm really intrigued. Like, the whole cult thing that's happening on Earth is just so interesting, and I hope we get to see a bit more of it over the coming issues. Absolute Wonder Woman issue 21 was another fantastic start to a new arc that explores a new direction for Wonder Woman's relationship with the gods she is meant to be serving. Barbara Ann Minerva's story, however, continues to be the star here. The slow drip feed of new info regarding her transformation into Cheetah is fantastic, bringing back elements from all over Wonder Woman's storied history to craft a really new iteration of the character that I think is really cool and fittingly very horrifying for the Absolute Universe. I cannot wait to see what the actual transformation into the Cheetah is going to be for her. It's going to be something truly scary and horrifying, and I cannot wait for it. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.